good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily. We're coming to you live from Eagle Square, where the All Progressives Congress is holding a special convention for the presidential primary, where the flag bearer for the party will emerge. And we will give you some details in a moment.
Good morning. Well, I don't know, why do I feel like a guest? I feel like a guest this morning. Good morning and welcome to the program. It's our continuing coverage of this particular event, the APC special convention for its presidential primaries. And what a night it has been, Chamberlain. We were here. We told our viewers yesterday that there was a preview. We did give them a preview, and then we were here yesterday till at least sometime in the evening when we left, so that we could go and freshen up for this morning. But it didn't mean that we were not monitoring what was going on. I'm sure lots of people were. And what a night it was. Did you watch the speeches?
Well, what can I say? Well, yes, indeed. I mean, it was, but of course, you can tell that lots of people couldn't keep up with that, so they had to just retire. Because as we speak, states are still voting. Voting is still going on. I think about 31, 32 states have voted at the moment, so you have more voting that will happen before the sorting, then the announcement of results, then the reaction from the winner, whoever that will be.
I think that we still have some moments left. I mean, to think that voting is still going on by this morning. But I did think that we saw quite a night of surprises. For those who were able to wait up, I know that for those who were not, there will be a summary much later in the day. But for those who were able to wait up, we saw some surprises. People stepping down. At some point, it became a night of stepping down. You know, it became a night of stepping down. We saw that. But much later, it would seem that the stepping down gala stopped. There were aspirants who refused to step down, or who said, you know, we're in this together, let's go for the contest. And perhaps that's why we're still here. But as you rightly said, it explains the fact that people have to go to work. It's a weekday. This primaries have been interestingly fixed for a weekday, and right smack in the middle of the week. Tuesday into Wednesday, perhaps this will be going on into Wednesday afternoon. Most likely, given all that is still left, the sorting, counting, eventual declaration, and then I think it will also be a presentation of the candidate of the APC.
You know, the thing about this is that even party members themselves thought that this was going to be done yesterday.
It did.
So
yesterday, maybe in the wee hours of this morning.
Yeah.
Yesterday would have been overly optimistic.
Even though some said, well, 11, 12, but some said 1, 2.
It did.
Well, here we are. Look at the time, and it's still on.
7 a.m.
Yeah. So we'll keep tabs with it and see how that goes. But of course, the dailies themselves, the dailies, of course, they have their impression of how some of these things are playing out. So we might as well just take you through some of the dailies here this morning, and we will go ahead and start with the Guardian newspaper. The lead story on the front page of the Guardian: consensus fails. 14 aspirants on ballots for APC presidential ticket. So that is the big one on the front page, and look at that, they've got a host of riders. So no matter how much you try to tell the story with that banner headline of the Guardian, I guess they figured they just couldn't. But look at the first of the rider: Akpabio, Amosun, Fayemi, 4 others step down for Tinubu. Oshibajo defies pressure to step down for Tinubu. Buhari rallies support for candidates with best chances. Tinubu pledges to unite Nigerians, tackle insecurity. I didn't come this far to chicken out. Bello insists. Remember, he was bent on coming in there and not being stopped by anybody. So he's eventually done it, but we'll wait and see what the results say. The other rider, Onu, decries marginalization of Ndigo.
Quite a speech he delivered yesterday. I mean, at the end of the day, I think he ended that speech asking, where is the justice? He ended his speech with a rhetorical question. Quite telling. I don't know whether the party, well, we'll be asking party members how they're going to be reacting to that.
Oh, yeah. And then look at the other rider. Lawan seeks delegates support, says parliamentaries parliamentarians make the best leaders.
Quite a speech he delivered. I think he was the first person to break the 2-minute rule, and he broke it so flagrantly. While they were trying to wind him up, he just refused to be wound up.
And he just went on and on. So sometimes the stage gets the better of them when they get there. And then you see, hire me, but fire me if I fail, Amechi tells delegates.
Quite a speech he gave as well in terms of what he said about money. Do not vote for the person, do not vote for us by what we bring here, but vote for us by what we have done. Look at our work. And I think I was quite telling, because I was going to ask, did he bring something? I mean, did the delegates, did the aspirants bring some? Well, we'll be talking to them, but we're still here.
Yeah, of course, and some of them, sometimes the horse trading that might happen behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So you kind of wonder, the statements that they make on stage, what kind of bearing does he have on what, because to a large extent, a lot of things already decided behind the scenes. So they just wait for them to come forward or finish the speeches and then they go forward. But I guess we'll find out what the thinking is about some of those. So, well, you still have a couple of riders here. Let me see if I could just take one or two more before we head up to the very next of the papers here. And then you see, well, when you ask about speeches and what did they bring, you see this next one. Bakare leads delegates on moments silence for our victims.
Yes, we now
insist on not stepping down.
Yes, we saw a trend after that. I mean, the moment he started that, you would see that almost every aspirant after him began to observe a moment silence, ask the crowd to observe a moment silence.
They were going to respond the moment, right? So there you go. Well, I guess better late than never, some of them might have thought. And then EFCC officials storm Eagles Square. What were their findings? Your guess might be as good as mine.
What is your guess? I want to know your own guess.
I wonder if I even have a guess. That's the Guardian today.
When we say that, your guess is as good as mine. Ask the person, what's your guess? Well, look at this one. Daily Trust newspapers has this. APC presidential ticket. Oshibajo, Lawan, Amechi in race as Tinubu coast to victory. Okay, how did they know that? Maybe because of all the stepping down.
Possibly.
The votes are yet to be counted, but if we're to go by the stepping downs, maybe that might explain this headline. Oshibajo Lawan Amechi in race as Tinubu coast to victory. Fayemi, Badaru, Akpabio, 4 others step down for Oshibajo. We must remain united, as underscoring the president's message to the party yesterday. Akeredolu confirms 22 deaths in Owo Catholic Church attack. And I think that was also underscored here yesterday, given what we now began to see after the speech of Pastor Tunde Bakare, who started that minute of silence or moment of silence for those who have died in Owo. After a while, we also saw other people who started adding many more incidences of, violent attacks, asking for moments of silence for those people as well. I was saying it was a pretty tricky one, because you're asking to be president or the candidate of a party which is currently in power, and these deaths are still happening. So lots of questions as to really what the party is going to be offering differently.
And food for thought, huge food for thought for the party as well.
Indeed.
Because they were expected to provide leadership.
Indeed.
And still are expected to provide that.
So this headline here still underscores what we currently have as the security situation in the country, the work at hand. Akeredolu confirms 22 deaths in Owo Catholic Church attack. You also see this repair, federal government to partially close Lagos-Ibadan highway. That is also there. You have a number of other stories at the bottom there. Senate leader Yahya Abdullahi dumps APC for PDP. Soldier courier crushed while rescuing accident victim in Abuja. Oh dear. That's a pretty tragic one.
Yeah.
Well, that's all we have to leave you for Daily Trust.
News Direct next. They also focus on the goings on with the political party APC presidential primary. Fayemi, Amosun, Akpabio, Bankole, Badaru, 2 others stepped down for Tinubu. That's the big lead here, as Buhari urges delegates to elect knowledgeable, fair-minded nationalists. We must put our house in order to survive beyond 2023, Adamu tells party members. Oh yeah, well, you know, while some of those results, announcements, speeches were going on, you know, cameras kept on panning to the national chairman, and sometimes some things, you know, some actions that had happened before that time will definitely come to memory, but who knows how they said they have a way of dealing with some of these things. They did tell us prior to the voting, which is still ongoing by the way, that a lot of what we saw is in there was normal. They always say that. So, but then look at this at the bottom strip. Economic growth to decline to 3.7% in sub-Saharan Africa in 2022, ascribed to the World Bank. These are some of the main matters that we also ought to focus on. So we wonder if politicians will give it a huge thinking, because look, economy is key. If economy is not right...
Indeed, the economy is key, especially as the world economy is seeing the decline. There are questions as to what precisely any leader is going to be doing to ensure that Africa, Nigeria more specifically, is going to be doing differently to swim against the tide. They always say something about how sub-Saharan Africa, or Africa in general, still has a huge potential for growth. And we saw the rapid growth when we first of all returned to democracy. There is still a lot of room for that here. So what are they going to be doing differently to ensure that we are able to swim against the tide successfully? I think that there's still room for growth, but the question is, how fast can we really grow? How fast can we grow, and how fast can we reduce our dependence on oil, which has been the major export for many years now? Well, let's see what New Telegraph is also saying. APC convention is a lead headline. Fayemi, Badaru, Amosun, Akpabio, Bankole, others step down for Tinubu. I want to ask you, Chamberlain, which one of the step downs did you see coming? Did you see, could you predict, if you're going to predict, which one of the step downs was going to come?
Well, it wasn't that I pinpointed any one of them, but I thought that there had to be something, because there was no way I didn't see all of them, particularly from the southwest, all going to the ballot, because what that would mean is clearly it was going to be divided, and I'm not sure they wanted it to slip from the southwest, so I knew that some sort of rapprochement was going to happen. But the way it turned out, maybe I might have not seen all of that coming.
Indeed. Well, quite interesting. But yes, for me, I think that when I saw the Fayemi step down, the Amosun step down, quite an interesting turn of events, I thought. But let's look at what the writers say here. You see this, swelling the national leaders' rank with more than 282 delegates vote. So it would seem that there are already calculations as to what those step downs have done for the national leader of the party. But look at this. I'm not here to step down for anybody. That's from Tunde Bakare. You also see this. We must win and win big. That's from Adamu, who's the party national chairman. South must produce our flag bearer. That's from Senator Gaya. And why I revolted against Northern APC governors by Yaya Bello. That's the story is on pages 2, 3, and 4 for you. Other stories you see right on the front plate here. All war. Catholic Church plans mass burial for 38 terror attack victims. So while we're looking at 22, I think that's the official figure that the governor has pronounced, the Catholic Church seems to be planning for 38 terror attack victims. What is the rider to that? It's quite tiny now. Let me see. Azakare Dolu Bishop disagree on casualty figure. So it looks like there's been some disagreement there.
With those kind of figures.
Ogumonek urges CAN to deploy CCTV in churches. So indeed, as a result of what has happened, there certainly needs to be a change of strategy in terms of security around worship areas and centers.
Are the thoughts that will be
taken
the
for
very
granted?
Yeah, that look, not just now. Remember about 8 years ago,
Indeed,
thereabout, when that question about CCTV was making the rounds, you thought that almost every gathering, if you have a huge potential to have more than 10, 20, 30 people converge, you should have some sort of closed circuit monitoring to ensure, take some personal responsibility about your security. You may think it doesn't count for much,
yeah,
but you can just imagine if 1, 2, 3, 10, 20 people in a particular street does it, 20 by 10 or 30, 40 streets, that can catch on.
You know, for a long time, Chimling, I know that when I came from Lagos, even before I left Lagos, the security around churches had been beefed up in churches around Lagos. For instance, in many churches, you couldn't drive into the compound. You couldn't even go to church with a bag. Women that love to carry purses couldn't take them for a while because your purse would be thoroughly searched. You're not allowed to carry a bag of a certain size, etc., etc. When I came to Abuja, the measures were even far stiffer. But as I've now lived here at least 6 years, and I've seen that measures have since been relaxed somewhat. Yes, they're still there, but they're not as tough, especially since our COVID experience. There was no church for a while, and then people started coming to church in trickles. There were now other types of measures. It was now about masks, sanitizing, washing your hands, etc. And now in some places you don't even have any sort of security checks. I mean, when that happened, it was a real reality check for me. I mean, I just came from mass in a center where the fence of the church is broken, and so the questions as to how we need to now do things differently. Was the least likely of places for that sort of thing to have occurred. So if it could happen in a place like Owo, a sleepy town that just goes about its business quite peacefully, where exactly is not susceptible to that sort of attack. So I think it's a call to action for all people who go to worship centers, even schools. I know that they also have their own sort of security checks, but even now people need to be more vigilant. As they say, the price for eternal freedom is eternal vigilance.
Yeah, and it's almost like a mixed bag, because I mean, you look at other climes, when certain things happen, they rejig the laws, they look into the foundation, they look at the laws, how do we react with these things, having a legal foundation. So maybe that kind of gives them the template, the structure within which they can build on. But over here, we don't seem to have that. Because I know theorists will say culture is supposed to be the totality of a people's way of life. But if they were supposed to, or we are supposed to ensure that we ramp up security, ensure that you keep checking, after a while, it just fizzles out. And you wonder, why does that happen?
We let down our guard.
But, these are just taking you through some of the headlines and reminding us of our responsibilities, civic and more, if you will. But give us a moment. We're coming to you live from Eagle Square. So we do have some perspective concerning what is going on. Voting is going on. Counting hasn't started because the voting has to end before that happens. But there are some permutations from some would-be insiders, if we could refer to them as such. But just keep it here because we will be right back. Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. We're coming to you live from Eagle Square in Abuja, where the All Progressive Congress is holding this special convention. They're going to elect the presidential flag bearer of the party. At the moment, voting is still going on. So once that is done, they move on to the next stage of sorting before the announcement of results. This began yesterday, and it's not over at the moment. Well, now we've got Mr. Fuadoki, who is an APC chieftain himself. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning, Chamberlain. Good morning.
What a scenario it's been. I know you must have been spent, because lots of people spend a lot of time here.
His voice is almost gone.
Oh, yeah. It's quite understandable. Oh, dear.
Oh, dear.
Well, so far so good. For some of us, it's like, a 4-year rite, which we go through. And a few of us can really say we are veteran, having come since as far as 1992, 93. So we do not expect anything spectacular out of what happened yesterday. And if anything, it is really political horse trading, approachments and reapproachments. And at the end of the day, what we find, indeed, it's an effort in taking Nigerian democratic experience back to the basics, where you see real politicking.
But in terms of that horse trading and negotiation that might have gone on behind the scenes, could you give us an inkling into how some of this has happened? Did they just approach them and tell them, look, you have to, do what you have to do, step down, or they are promised something if the candidate emerges the winner?
I use the word horse trading, or what lawyers would call quid pro quo. You must get something when you give out some things. And most times you look at the numbers, it's an arithmetic, it's not mathematics. You continue to count the numbers. You continue to count the numbers to know if indeed you want to go through the race or you want to stop at some point. In wanting to stop, you also just don't want to walk away. You also want to ensure that sometimes it's about your aspiration in terms of policies, your aspiration in terms of delivery, and you want to be sure that something about you or of you will also be part, of that.
Let me ask you, what do you think, how does this come across to politicians? After thumping their chest, campaigning, saying, I'm buying this form, or people have bought the form for me to go up there and stand on their behalf and fight for something, for policies, for principles, and then they go there and step down. Which is more honorable? Contest and then lose, or step down?
Well, what is honorable, it's about you being real with yourself. It's about numbers. So you count it. You continue to count. And let me share this with you. When you are going through this process, you go through what I always teach in electoral classic master class, with a song that was written by Kenny Rogers in America, and it's called The Gambler. You must know when to play, you must know when to stop. And you never count your money when the deal is on. That's all you have about conventional election.
I think I know that song. In fact, it comes to mind now. I'm actually trying to bring out the words now. Yes, indeed. Know when to run away, know when to stop. You got count your... Yeah, yes, I know that song. Interesting song, and I think that indeed it does spell a little, what perhaps might have happened to some of the aspirants yesterday. But I am curious if you saw some of the step downs that we saw yesterday. Did you see it coming from some of the aspirants that we saw?
Yes.
I mean, because before now, let me take someone like Governor Fayemi. A lot of people had said, oh, he wasn't exactly on great terms with the national leader, and there had been questions as to whether or not, he was going to agree to step down.
No one thing very well in politics. It's about interest. It's about interest. You look at your position, you look at the other man's position. It's not about emotion. It's about interest. And most times, or many times than not, your interests will align at some point. And that's what you saw happen.
So forget about the issue of Ogun State, former Ogun State governor.
Yes, and you see, for some of us who, again, I want to call bookmakers, also know, you see, who will likely align with who will not align with who. For instance, I made up my mind on who to vote for about 48 hours to the election.
Will you disclose it?
No. But you can read through me.
Who are you hoping will win?
You can read through me.
Okay. Well, fair enough. I'm trying my best to read through you. I'm not an X-ray.
Or read his body language.
Well, I'll try and X-ray your thoughts.
You can read through.
Will you give us a hint?
Look at this.
And these are the colors of the
APC. Every state that attended this convention came with some colors. And you know why convention or congresses are so unique? Not just because they are intra-party events, but it's also a slate. We call it slates. You know, many times than not, you will see that slate even before voting. You will see them in their colors. So when you look at my column, I'm sure you know where my vote went.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, well, I guess we'll wait and see what happens, because after this, they need to see how to move forward and then face the other political parties that will be waiting for them in the battlefield.
This is just one out of several phases. It's a process. When election like this happens, you are going through 4 phases into the election cycle. After today, we'll be moving on to the next phase, which indeed will be the 3rd phase. And that's the phase of, you see, building blocks. Every one of the contestants that you saw here yesterday will still be hanging somewhere. And in the wee hours of today, we'll start building those blocks so that we will ensure we have cohesion. And in one block, in unison, we can then approach the next phase, which is the general election.
Well, we have to thank you for coming on, in spite of how tired you are.
Always.
To give us this opportunity. Thank you very much, and all the best.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Much.
Hope to be catching up with you as
and don't forget our deal.
What deal?
Don't forget our deal.
I'll try my best not to. I don't know what deal.
Don't forget our deal.
Okay, well, there you go.
It's about gender, it's about Lagos.
Indeed.
That's striking deals behind my back now. Okay, it's all right. It's allowed. It's political environment, so the rapprochement, horse trading also happening in different areas. But don't forget, voting is still going on in some states. So counting hasn't even started. So still some grounds to cover here at Eagle Square.
We just heard some sounds behind us. We're wondering just what that's
about.
This time? They were jeering. This time around they were jeering. Yesterday we had chairs. We had, depending on where the aspirants went, you would hear jazz or chairs, really loud chairs, you know, for their aspirants of choice. You know, sometimes it's very difficult to forget that, you know, as candidates. Candidates are a lot easier to say than aspirants. But we're now being joined by the governor of Imo State, Senator Uzodinma. You are the chairman of this occasion. What a long, long event it has been. So far, so good. Are you satisfied with all that has happened from yesterday, even up till this time?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Very tiring process, and so far we've done very well. Voting is still ongoing. Any moment from now, we start collection and counting, and the result will be known, and a winner will emerge.
You seem disappointed. Are you disappointed?
As what? I would like
in terms of the way some of the things turned out?
No. Of course, in every project, you have the human imperfections, but I can assess the success level of this project up to 98%.
98?
Yes, we've done very well.
Is it in terms of the organization, or in terms of your projections?
In terms of the organization.
Okay.
You will agree with me that the exercise has been so orderly, relatively calm, and unlike when you used to have total market here and there and security, people being pushed down and that and that. we've organized this place in a manner that you can see how effortlessly people are going to vote and coming out, and nothing has happened as to suggest that our preparation has not been done very well.
What was the hitch that went on with the delegates list? There was a hitch and it delayed processes that turned out.
Yeah, one of the states, yes, there were some discrepancies, and we have to halt the process until the accreditation committee came to identify the exact list, and it was sorted out, and we continued.
Well, why did some? Is it true that they said there are some party members and the governor was involved in trying to alter some list or something to favor a particular candidate?
No, it's not to my knowledge. I don't think so.
Not at all?
No, it's not to my knowledge. No governor can do that. All the governors that stayed here throughout the night had one function, one role or the other to play. I don't think any governor will want to go and alter a list.
Because yesterday, Nasarawa State Governor told us that when they got that information, Ogun State Governor had to rush down to the venue to ensure that things were right, and then they corrected the process, and that delayed it. He told us yesterday.
No, the accreditation venue.
Yeah.
No, Ogun State Governor worked so hard in manning that accreditation committee, and they deployed the technology that automated the process, and there was at no time did he report of anybody trying to change a list.
Interesting. Well, I mean, how long did you project that this was going to go on for? You are the chairman of this. You look like you haven't slept. I know that Chimele was talking about how people projected that this was going to end by 2 a.m. at the most. You had 2,332 delegates. It's not less than 2,300, beg your pardon. So there have been questions as to whether you said that voting was still going to be going on by this time.
Yeah, you know, apart from voting, we did other activities of the party. We had this entertainment, musicians coming to play, aspirants who were given 2 minutes to speak. Some of them spoke for 30 minutes, and we couldn't stop them. So the thing now dragged the program beyond our planned timelines.
I mean, I was watching that, and I don't know, how did you feel when they were trying to get the aspirants to stick to the time, and some of them just blatantly refused? Do you think that was right?
Well, of course, I allowed the delegates to assess the kind of aspirants they have and whether they deserve their votes or not. However, we did our best in making sure we couldn't stop some of them because some other ones already also did the same thing.
Indeed.
And we didn't stop them. So we allowed the thing to play out on its own, just for peace.
Dr. Bonayon, when he made his speech, he left at Magba highlighted with a question, where is the justice? He talked about the big question for the Southeast region, who he feels, that region feels hard done by with what has played out or what is playing out now. What do you think about it?
Well, we all listened to him. He made a very brilliant speech. We take them home. Sometimes in this business of politics, expectations may not be what you think. You know, things you expect may not be what you will get. But it's also left for you to continue to try and do your best as a human being and leave the rest for God.
Where do you think it went wrong for the region in terms of their quests to get the ticket?
Well, you see, the issue of zoning has been at the public domain. It's a national discourse, really. The issue of zoning, that power has come to the south, went to southwest, and the next time it came to the south, it went to south-south. And if zoning and equity is anything to go by, that naturally this time around it should go to southeast. But you see, sometimes this business of power, you don't just rely on moral criteria and saying justice. You know, some other things are involved because no one zone can produce a president in Nigeria. You must take the collaboration and cooperation of other zones. The southern Nigeria alone cannot produce a president without northern Nigeria.
Yeah, but people have said that they haven't played their part, that they seem to even put their personal interests way beyond any such thing as their regional interests.
What people say most times may not be what will give you power. What gives you power? If you decide to get power, you work for it. Nowhere in the world power is given to anybody just as a lunch or a breakfast. We know we deserve to produce a president in Nigeria. We know we have capable, competent hands that can rule Nigeria from south.
But the Southeast leaders work for it.
Well, you see, it is a relative thing. Oh. I may feel I have worked, but maybe I have not worked enough.
Do you think you worked?
I've worked. But no matter what you do as a human being, until God says it's your time, that's the only time you have the power. So we will struggle as human beings. We'll do within the capacity of what a human being can do. But I can tell you, it is God. I believe in faith. I'm a child of faith. I believe that it is only when God has decided to give you power.
How do you know when he's decided?
Just like in 2003, I had a gubernatorial outing. I didn't win. In 2007, I tried, I didn't get it. In 2019 was the time God said, "Hey, my son, come and be
Was that
governor."
God?
Yes.
You know, sir, I'm just a little curious. It's like from the answers that you're given, it does look like you do not have any faith that the Southeastern candidates can make it through at this primaries.
No, that is not correct. After all, in any event, we have faith. But faith are things you don't see yet you believe.
Mm-hmm. So you
understand?
Indeed, there are things you don't see yet you believe. Do you believe that a Southeastern candidate can still pull through in this primaries? Given that what we have seen go down on the ground, go down on the grounds here, and what the papers are saying. Just this morning, I was asking how one of the dailies, reached his conclusion that the national leader looked set to be clinching this. They're already making their predictions. It doesn't look like the Southeast is in contention here, or any Southeastern candidate is.
Now, I think that from the point of view of political calculation, the sentiments of people of Southeast is that really they deserve to produce a president. Because the reason why this power is moving from the north to the south is because the north, the current president is from the north, having served 8 years. Now the popular view is that somebody from the southern part of the country should be a president. And the reason why Southeast also is asking for it is because he came to the south and went to southwest and was there for 8 years. And the next time he came to the south, he went to south-south. And it was there for almost barely 7 years plus. Now, the natural thing to do, and the justice of the case, is that now that he's coming again to the south, and since it is only the 3 geopolitical zones that made up the south, that he should come to southeast. Having been in southwest and the south-south, he should now come to southeast. So in a situation where equity really should be the issue, we don't need to struggle for it. We don't need to struggle for it. But here again, you see how it has gone. We'll continue to hope that one day God will touch the heart of our brothers and sisters out there to do that which belongs to us.
So what does this mean now? Does it mean the region has to wait for what, 8 or 16 years?
That's the thing we have to. This is something that will be discussed at the party level, because it's a serious matter that needs to be addressed. Because we are dealing with human beings here. It is not just you wake up and take any decision. There are consequences of every action. So those are the things that will be discussed, and something must be done. And maybe bring in a balancing kind of act that will assuage the feelings of the people for the interest of our party. Yeah, most of our people here who came from the southeast, of course. When they saw it was going to be difficult to get clinching to the ticket, they opted for a northern candidate. The reason is very simple, because the northern candidate will stay for 8 years. And then the power will come back to the south. This time around, maybe we'll have the opportunity. The power coming back to the south will be another 8 years. And the next time you have the power, it will go to the north for another 8 years. So 16 clear years of wait for Southeasterners. It's something that must be given some serious attention.
Big questions indeed. I'm just wondering, so what more should we be expecting now? Voting looks like it's getting set to conclude. I think the last they called was Zamfara.
Yeah.
I don't know whether this was being done in alphabetical order.
No,
but
it was not done in alphabetical.
It wasn't. Was there a reason for that?
No, I think because we had 2 voting points.
Oh, okay.
And then we divided the list. The second page was used for Part B, and the first page, Part A. So when they called Anambra and Adamawa, they called Kano and Katsina, and they were going in that.
I see. In that order to try and make things, to try and speed it up a bit.
Yes.
So what should we expect here? I mean, how much more longer do you think that we'll get to wait before we eventually see who has emerged?
As long as it will take to sort the votes, sorting of the votes, and then counting of the votes, and then announcing the results. I think we're almost there, you know. We're almost there.
After the announcement of the person who has won, would that be it for the day, or would there still be a presentation? Because I do remember that for the APC party convention, there was a presentation of Senator Abdullahi Adamu to the president as the candidate. Will that also be happening on the grounds today?
Yeah, well, as soon as the votes are counted and the result is known, we'll get in touch with the leadership of the party and know whether the national chairman will come back or the president will come back. If that is the case, we'll wait until they come, and then the candidate will be announced and the flag given to him, and that is it.
But does the party think that this is going to be a stroll in the park to 2023? Because this is about the first time that we'll have 7-8 months of political campaign before the election. So a lot could still happen.
Well, you see, the new Electoral Act came with new issues, new style of politics, and some of them very good, some of them not very friendly. One of those unfriendly ones is what you just said now, because it means that aspirants or candidates will have to campaign for almost 1 year before the election. And of course, it is going to take a big toll on the candidates. And it's not going to be very easy. The reason for that, for me, I cannot easily fathom. I'm told is to enable pre-election litigations be resolved and disagreements be resolved. But you can see how the thing is almost affecting governance. Because for the past 2 months, it's about primaries, congresses, one activity or the other. Most people are not even going to their offices to do the business of governance. And it is not very healthy for me. But we have to deal with that because we have to comply with the Electoral Act. We have to comply and obey the law. The society must be a rule-driven society. The National Assembly, in their wisdom, did the law, and Mr. President assented to the law.
I'm just curious. I mean, you have chosen a weekday to do this primaries. Did you also put that into consideration? Because, I mean, there is this right smack in the middle of the Federal Secretariat. There'll be questions as to, whether this would not affect workers who are supposed to be at work today. I mean, ought to have been at work yesterday, today, maybe tomorrow.
Well, I don't think there is any ministry inside this Eagle Square.
But they're right across. They're right across.
And the streets have been cordoned off.
No, the traffic control only created diversions.
But it was very hectic. They spent man-hours in traffic.
Yeah, it is trying. Yeah, of course, we'll make sacrifices to get some of this thing done, occasioned by the INEC guidelines, which compared all political parties to do this thing within this particular time frame.
Yeah, but why do Nigerians have to suffer for it, for the political parties? Because they could do it without making the traffic or motorists, bear the brunt of man I was in traffic.
Members of the political party are also Nigerians.
There was a whole weekend. I mean, there was a PDP did theirs over a weekend, Saturday into Sunday. You did your party convention Saturday into Sunday. There was a clear weekend before this one. Why didn't you pick the weekend?
I don't like comparing my party with PDP. PDP is just a small opposition party.
I just gave, you were in the PDP.
Even though you came from there.
A few moments ago, you were just in the PDP.
Yes.
But I mean, I just gave the example of your own
There's a season
party.
for everything.
Yes, you did.
That was a time PDP. It was its season, and now it is APC.
You did your party convention, to speak to the party leadership over a weekend, Saturday into Sunday. I just cited your own party's example.
Yeah.
So why haven't you done the same for this presidential primaries? Why right smack in the week?
Well, this is our political party. We have the administrative system is like a ladder. There are levels of decision making. I'm just the chairman of the organizing committee.
I knew you were just going to say that. I don't know how I knew what your response was going to be. I could predict it already. But I know you're also a part of the decision makers.
Yeah, part of.
So what was the thinking?
At a level that probably the level of decision making I belong is not the level this decision was taken. But we have to follow because loyalty to the party, the position is also very important in this business of politics. I think it's a ruling party.
For now,
at
the moment,
they have better flexibility.
What do you have for your colleague, Senator Lawan? Because I mean, he must have been going through different kinds of emotions the day before he was announced by national chairman, and then they said no. That didn't have the backing of the president, and then he came, he tried to reach out to the delegates, but at the end of the day, who knows what will happen, and he's not even going back to the Senate.
I just want to wait until in the next few minutes or few hours, the result of this outing will be known. Then we will be properly informed to make our statements.
What kind of statement do we expect?
Sorry?
What kind of statements should we expect?
Of course, we'll congratulate whoever that will emerge and also congratulate those that couldn't make it. And life continues.
I think that's very instructive. Life continues. I think supporters of politicians should remember that and not kill themselves over certain things. No, politicians will not do that.
Yes, I try to employ all politicians to adopt the spirit of sportsmanship. You know that it is, of course, when you go into a context, two things will come out of it. Either you win or you will not. So you must also plan on how you can manage either way.
Let me just confirm, you were supporting Senator Ahmed Lawan, weren't you?
Ahmed Lawan is my colleague, is my friend.
Indeed. So I just want to clarify
just like other aspirants.
I'm just clarifying that he was your own aspirant of choice.
No, he's not my aspirant of choice because it is not even a factor. What I mean is that he's my friend, and of course...
You are sympathetic to him?
Of course,
to his cause?
Of course, somehow, covertly, overtly, I must give him some kind of support and encouragement. In the same manner, I'll give to other aspirants who are also my friends, but not at the same degree.
So you give more to Senator Lawan?
To the closer ones.
All right, then His Excellency Hope Uzodinma, Governor of Imo State, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning.
Thank you.
So there you go. That is if at the moment, but just give us a moment. We'll be back. We're still coming to you live from Eagle Square. Welcome back to Sunrise Daily, coming to you live from Eagle Square, where the All Progressive Congress is holding a special convention to elect the presidential aspirant, the presidential candidate of the party. So now we understand that voting has ended, and they are in the process of beginning sorting of all the ballots, and then they'll begin counting, and of course, that leads to the announcement of the winner. But we don't know yet, because even Governor Hope talked about either the national chairman, who knows, the leadership party or the presidency will be here So we'll just keep tabs on that. So we're still here taking you through some of what is going on here today, Margaret.
Indeed, Chamberlain, I guess this is now the interesting part when we now, sometimes, you know, sorting and counting go on simultaneously. If the sorting goes the same way we saw what happened at the velodrome where the PDP did theirs, where, you know, as they were sorting, they were saying it out loudly, calling the name of the aspirant on the ballot. So as they were bringing out the ballot box, they were bringing it out one after the other and counting, saying the name of the aspirant whose name was on the ballot and putting it aside. At that point, people were already doing their arithmetic. As Mr. Fuadoki said, he said it's arithmetic, it's not mathematics. You know, people were already doing that. I was taking notes. I was making a stroke for every single one of the aspirants whose name I heard. And by the end of that, you already have an idea, even before they count, just how many, who exactly is the leading candidate, or roughly by how many votes he has won. But let us see. I do not know if it's going to be that way. Let us know if maybe a delegate here has an idea of how this is going to go down.
Yep. Mr. Boom, good morning. Good to see you.
Thanks, sir.
You look bright and early. You're not as spent as some of your colleagues.
It's only been some time, and it's good to back on sunrise and to channel all channelable items.
Thank you. So, at the moment, well, the projections have been made by different people, but looking through the speech, the way the voting may have gone, what are your expectations?
I imagine that it's going to be too close to call.
Too close to call?
Too close to call.
Amongst who and who?
Between the candidates, really, because a lot of swings are going to take place. There are those, here you don't have unattached voters. That those you call neutrals. There are no neutrals here. Almost every delegate here has an owner.
An owner?
Yes. In Nigeria, we have voters or delegates and delegate owners.
Were you a delegate?
I was not a delegate. I'm a statutory delegate who was excluded by the law.
So at the time you were, well, you had an owner?
No, I will own.
Oh, you will own?
Yeah, because
delegates.
I'm a statutory delegate. Therefore, I'm a leader, an opinion leader, a leader of the party in a particular area.
Just for curiosity, what does it take to own delegates?
First, you are electing, before today, you are electing a delegate. So if you canvass for a person to be nominated and then voted for as a delegate, it presupposes that he respects your opinion about who to vote for. Now, you might call that guided democracy. When people pretend that democracy is about choice and all that, there are no choices that are not guided. There are no choices on earth, whether in America or in Britain, whether in Germany or anywhere, that are not guided by opinion, shaped by information available to whoever is going to vote.
But this kind of guidance is not guidance in the true sense of the word. That kind of guidance here means that once you are quote unquote guided, you are expected to comply and not unguide yourself.
No. Please, get this straight. These are mature voters who are convinced, first of all, that this person qualifies to be my leader and therefore I will respect his opinion. Anytime he no longer feels comfortable with that, that's why you see migration. You see a master in one party and see those you suppose are followers in another party. I have seen that happen several times in different places. I'll give you names, big names, and you'll be shocked at. In the next elections in 2023, you're going to get masters against servants, followers against foot soldiers. You're going to see that happen in most of the states. Governorship elections, parliamentary elections, and all that, across the country.
So for this, when you say you expect it to be a close call, why and between who and who?
Now, look at the stepping downs, the epidemic of step downs that you got this last night. It became an epidemic when we discovered that those who should be frontline runners suddenly became followers and decampees, and were stepping down and stumbling down. For some of them, they were stumbling down. And if that happens, the psyche of the average voter, that is why I was telling you that when you say you are guiding, an average voter at this level, who is a delegate, will have to make himself available to the opinion that he finds on the floor. For instance, you find 5 aspirants, not ordinary aspirants, former governors, sitting ministers, sitting senators, saying I step down for this. I mean, somebody who pulled out 100 million to buy a form, saying I am stepping down at no cost. Whatever horse trading may have taken place outside of that podium is irrelevant. What you are seeing in front of you is that this big man is stepping down for another man you feel is his equal, contemporaries, and this is stepping down. So how it affects the voter or the delegate is instantaneous, is spontaneous. It is almost involuntary. And the man is going out there to go and say, if these big men have done so, it means their supporters are going to go that way. So why do I waste my vote on the person I intended to be?
Why is that the case? Because, I mean, is there a way that they will know that a certain delegate did not vote in the way he was guided to be voted?
They have no way to know. That is why it's a secret ballot. That is why it is deliberately made secret ballot. It's in order not to victimize and induce unnecessary and influence voters, or sometimes even cajole or force them.
So how come politicians have implicit confidence that once politicians or delegates have been guided, they will remain guided?
Because over time you have had to deal with these characters, but at all times you must keep a margin of error so that you absorb the shock, the political shock of a voter or a delegate changing his mind. So if you have 10 delegates that you think are going to vote your way, you should always keep a margin of 2 or 3. 7 is a pass mark. It's an A anywhere. So if you keep that, you must always keep that margin.
So who will be the close runners here?
Say again?
Who will be the close runners?
The close runners in this context, like I said, Ashwaju will stay on top there. Because of what happened, because of the quality of people that stepped down for him. Naturally, we expect people to do that. I'm saying this as an independent observer, as a political actor who has sat
as a delegate owner.
As a former delegate owner, I no longer own delegates.
You no longer own delegates?
Yes, because I didn't participate in this one. I was knocked off. And you will find that a man like the vice president, people like Yaya Bello, people who had age and who had good media outing and good contact on ground. If you have people like Akpabio who had to step down, then you will definitely know that you are in for a close run between those who didn't step down. 14 of them didn't step down. Professor Ben Ayade of Pacific State first did not step down after the spree. And then you have people like Rotimi Amechi, people like the vice president, Yemo Shibanjo. There are people like I said, Yaya Bello. Those people are going to come in shopping for votes where votes were not expected to be gotten.
So, for some of those who stepped down, for instance, Senator Akpabio,
yes,
you know, in his state, you also had Senator Akpabio there, who left the APC and went on to the NMPP because he wanted the governorship ticket. So he's the candidate. He's going to seek that ticket for Akwa Ibom State on the platform of NMPP because APC will not give him that. So he has some leverage and some delegates. So to what extent can we say Akpabio has got delegates? We'll come to that in a moment, but the images we see here now, you understand this process. The sorting which is about to begin. So haven't seen some of this happen. Could you tell us what's playing out here?
Well, they are moving in there to do sorting and subsequent counting. Those are ballot papers. You can see them being carried up to show that nothing is going to happen to them under transparency at its best for APC. The organizers of this program, after the last convention, have shown that they are improving marvelously in geometrical and astronomical order.
So something can happen under?
Precisely because there will be suspicion. Normal human activity, suspicion at this level is at its highest. All antennas are up, all the danger signals are on, and the agents are at their best here, ensuring, even using technology to ensure that nothing happens to these ballot boxes. And that is why they are being carried in the air. So your cameras are capturing them, the agents are capturing them, and all that. It is to go and sort out each of those ballots, which belongs to what, and then start counting them thereafter in the presence of the agents, 2 agents per. So there are 28 persons watching these ballots, these ballot boxes, and that is what is going on right now. And I think this is the most transparent thing that can ever happen.
Who are the 28?
The 28 are the 2 agents for each of the 14 aspirants. they are watching keenly to ensure that nothing happens to this ballot.
So there's a special place they are headed for this sorting?
Yes, they are going to the table, and soon we are going to see them drop it with the 28 agents watching and the security agents protecting them. And then they are going to start sorting out each aspirant's own ballot and show to all the agents to convene that this ballot, the ones that are badly mutilated or not well spelled, for instance, you heard them announcing there are 3 Ahmeds on this ballot. So don't go and write Ahmed. You must put the Ahmed of Tinubu, the Ahmed of Lawan, and the Ahmed of Sani. You must indicate which of the Ahmeds you are talking about. There are 2 professors here, Professor Ben Ayade and Professor Yemi Oshibajo. You must indicate the professor you mean.
So the names were not on the ballot?
No.
The names were not on the ballot.
The
delegates are to write the names of the
person they want. Yes.
Interesting. So there is no prof. There's no abbreviation.
No.
There's not just Ahmed.
No.
So there can be no, the margin of error will be minimal.
Will be very minimal. That's why you heard them announce it in Hausa, in English, the major language in Wazobia, and proceeded in Pidgin English to make it clear, because some of these people can write in Arabic, can write in English, but you must write this one in English. So they are told clearly, if you cannot write, turn to the agent of the person you want to vote for to write it for you. And when he writes it, she'll read it to you.
Okay, because I was going to say it presupposes that all of the delegates could read and write.
Yes.
I mean, it presupposes that but I mean, as you just said, there was help for those who couldn't read and write.
In any case, don't forget that every delegate can vote and be voted for. So that means you may also have to write your own name.
At least.
At least you should. That is why you should school up to school level. That is the constitutional requirement for qualification.
Not that you have to pass.
You
just
don't
show
need to pass. Just show that you attended and have a testimonial to show that you schooled up to school certificate.
Now, you know how these things work sometimes. People will have the certificates, but sometimes the knowledge might be missing.
That is a different matter between potential and actuals.
Well, this is what
performance and potential are clear 2 different things. You are a PhD holder in English, and pronunciation becomes a problem, writing becomes a problem for you, but you have a PhD and there's proof of it. You are school here, you have a PhD, you are a professor.
There'll be big questions as to how you acquired the PhD. But let me ask you, now that we are approaching this counting and sorting, we've seen the ballots being put somewhere. I think the pictures are still there. Yes, they're now being put on that table there. The agents are standing by, keeping vigilant watch over those boxes. I'm wondering whether we're going to be seeing the names of each one of the person on that ballot being read out loud. That's of the PDP, all 767 or 67 ballots were read out loud for everyone to hear. So even in the process of sorting, people were already doing their own calculations. They were already counting, so to speak. You have over 2,000 delegates at this event. How possible, how realistic is it to expect that everyone will be able to follow that sorting process?
That is why there are 2 agents. Both cannot go to sleep. The agents are the main actors here now at this point, because their principals have a duty, gave them that duty, and anything that happens to them, equity does not avail the indolent. That is a maxim, a legal maxim. Equity does not avail the indolent. So if you are indolent at this point and you sleep over your rights, that becomes entirely your business. But the duty of the election officer is to ensure that the process is as transparent and you are as present as possible. Where it is not clear to you, you insist on citing it. In any case, you must cite it. You cannot just say Ahmed, Lawan, Ahmed this, and then just put it. You must show the agents, all agents, this is for this person, and it is placed by the side like that until all 14 are sorted. All 14 are sorted. If there is none.
Yeah, what I'm saying is the viewers who are watching from home could also follow the counting process while it was on at the velodrome.
Yeah.
Do you expect to be able to do that here as well?
You are going to see it here. Even in INEC, if you follow all elections, you pick a ballot. Yaya Bello. Everybody cited. Jack Rich. Ben Ayade. Everybody must, all agents must cite it, and as it's reading from the paper and showing it to the agent. You must read it aloud and show that this is it. You cannot just say It is not the agent to read it. It is the election officer to read the name there and show to confirm, for confirmation to the agent before placing it in the position for that particular candidate.
This is a really delicate time.
Very, very. That is why we insist on vigilance on the part of the agents.
So,
in fact, I will tell you this as an election organizer for parties. I was state chairman, so I have been agent several times. I've run elections myself and won. I've lost some. But I tell you something. Most of the time, it is the agents that betray their principals.
The agents
have become a major problem in distorting elections and for electoral fraud.
How?
They deliberately go to sleep or go to eat when counting is going on. When they are induced. I have seen that happen to me several times. Agents compromise. And in budgeting, we discovered, I have sat in opposition for 22 years now, since 2002. I have sat here organizing opposition in my state, so I understand what I'm talking about. You'll find a situation where in budgeting for elections, PDP will budget for agents of the opposition. We will budget money to induce the agents of the opposition. So you send your agent to the...
Parties do that.
I am naming parties and I'm telling you that I am a witness to that. I have gone to tribunals to challenge that and insist on that. And indeed, in one of the local government elections, a witness of PDP accused the lawyer cross-examining her of giving her 500 naira to go and eat so that they will change the ballot. Their own witness said that on the witness box.
So they do that deliberately?
It is budgeted for. Money for opposition agents. If, for example, you give your agent 5,000 or 1,000 and say, go and stay there. When you are hungry, give somebody to buy food for you, snack for you, or water for you. And you are giving him 1,000 as an opposition, you have no money. They budget 5,000 for him. So as they give him 5,000, they do the counting, and then he tells you that, sir, as I went to eat, before I came back, they dodged with the papers. He didn't go to eat anything.
What's the average pay for agents?
No. It depends on the elections and the capability of the candidate. The candidate for election.
But we do not expect to see that here, do we?
No, here you cannot. This is the highest take of it. Even in presidential elections, where you have an equality, that is a balance of power in terms of finances, in terms of population, in terms of human strength, in terms of presence, where you have that balance of power, where you have that balance of financial muscle, there is no way you can. In any case, some agents are die-hard agents.
So this is largely up to the delegates.
It's up to the
Whatever
delegates.
Whatever they've done,
up to
this
the
is just
agents.
to finalize.
Yes. So if the delegates and the agents are firm and resolute, there are people you cannot pay. I have such persons who you cannot pay. I know of persons who, even after the elections, and the winning candidate is not from his party, and he says, let's go and have a drink. He said he won't drink poison. He called drink or food from the opponent in PDP, and he called it poison. He won't take.
I'm just curious, after this is done, because I don't know that there's been plenty of talk around consensus. For some people, they said they did not see how a consensus was going to emerge amongst 23 aspirants. But there is a reason why political parties like consensus. It's because they think it builds the party and makes it stronger, and it reduces bad blood, right? But this has not happened in this election. This primaries now have been, whoever emerges here would have had to fight. The ticket would have been hard-won, let me put it that way. How do you think that aspirant or that candidate, what work do you think he or she, I don't think it'll be an issue because even the only woman stepped out. What do you think that he will have to do to reconcile all the other aspirants so that your party can progress as a united front?
This is where APC is superlative, operates on the superlatives. And this is where this race is not for the lily-livered. It's not for the knock-kneed. It is for real men. Because in going into a contest, the suggestion of a contestation is that there must be a winner and there must be a loser. At all times in going out for that kind of contest, you must have that in mind. Now, it pains if you are caught short or you feel that you have been short-circuited or undermined. In this kind of contest, you can only accuse somebody of betraying you by not going the whole hog with you, or of not working hard enough for you, but you cannot say you are not given opportunity to contest. In any case, our democracy cannot expand with the brand of consensus that we have in Nigeria today. I must say this beyond APC. I speak here for my country, I speak here for democracy. I have had to pay several times for democracy. Therefore, I will not compromise and I will not shy away from saying this. The brand of democracy we are practicing, or consensus we are practicing now, is what I call deodorized imposition.
Including the one by your party, the APC?
All parties in Nigeria, whenever they tell you consensus today, they just yoke you in, break you down, and insist that you must accept and push it down your throat.
In the name of being guided.
Why it didn't happen in this presidential election is because, like I said, there was a balance of power. You cannot tell Yaya Bello to step down for anybody. You cannot tell Tinubu to step down for anybody. You cannot, unless they willingly do so. I cannot run any election and you ask me to step down. No man living on this planet can ask me to do that. I must do that of volition, out of discussion, out of conviction, out of dialogue, never out of coercion. I don't think that at my age and after what I have gone through for 22 years, no man living can ask me to step down by sheer force. If you take away that from me during the primaries, you won't take my vote away during the elections.
I did ask you a question before, we looked at the images about the sorting concerning delegates, Akwa Ibom State, Senator Akpanodo there and Senator Gosula Akpabio. So Senator Odehe is going for governorship in the state on the platform of NNPP, and Akpabio stepped down for a candidate here. So did he, in that scenario, wield, what kind of powers, what kind of delegates powers would he have wielded? Because Senator Odehe too was a very high-ranking member in the party, and so he's got some leverage. So what kind of strength will delegates from Akwa Ibom play or have here in the APC?
You see, when you say this, we're now dealing with the issue of theorization and speculation. Akwa Ibom, distinguished senator, former secretary of our party, former governorship candidate of ACN in Akwa Ibom, high profile. He is no longer in the party. So to go discussing him would be to divert attention from what my party will do. But what made him leave in the first place should tell you that he stood no chance anymore. And being the experienced politician that he is, he knew that he was going to be standing on sandy grounds. He was not rock solid anymore. First, as a sitting secretary of party that organized the congresses, he lost all structures, all state, local government chairmen, ward chairman, state executive, to Senator Akpabio, Minister of Niger Delta. Now, this is an uncommon feat, that the man who organized an event became a spectator. Is what stunned Senator Akpabio out of the party. It stunned him to his marrow because he couldn't understand what happened to him. It was not a party that took a decision, it was a court that saw through the processes and made a pronouncement, a declarative statement that the judgment was declarative and it was fundamental. You didn't purchase forms for this office, therefore he couldn't have been an officer of the party. And to that extent, he couldn't have had even a delegate, because those who were going to organize the delegates election would have been the state executive in conjunction with the national executive of the party. So for Akwa Ibom, it was the wise thing to do. Either you have to condone it, live with it, and with Senator Akpabio as your leader, having the structures, and as a sitting senator being the highest ranking officer of the party in the state where there is no governorship candidate, you have to either live with that or take a walk. And he chose the latter, which is to take a walk. So his staying back or going wouldn't have mattered, because clearly the uncommon governor, the uncommon minister would have remained uncommon and therefore unapproachable and simply untouchable. He was sitting on top of his game.
Are you expecting to see many more defections after now? I mean, because even though there's a lot of attention on what has transpired here in Eagle Square, at the state level, what do you expect to see?
I will tell you that where we are now, people are becoming ashamed, because somehow there is what you call shamelessness and there's what you call shamefulness. A man who has become shameless has devoid himself of any modicum of integrity and decency. He has dispelled himself of any form of any human dignity, and therefore anything and everything can go for him. A shameful act or a shameful person is a man who definitely knows that whatever action I take here will bring disgrace and dishonor, not just to my name, to my community and to my family. Therefore, he avoids it. That is dignity. So where we are now is such that men who have been habitual migrants, moving from party to party in search of power, are now becoming weary because the courts, both the court of public opinion and the judicial system, has put a stop to it, and our laws and our statutes are beginning to catch up with such migrants, so that you must stay and build democracy. If all parties have to be dealing with migrants, there will be no democracy, there will be no foundation for democracy. So to sustain democracy, we need to see less of this movement. I expect a few of them who are still unconscionable to still move on, but they will be of no consequence and of no moment, because they are like mercenaries. A mercenary is distrusted by those who hire them and those they go to attack and work against. So the first victim of a mercenary action is the mercenary himself. So if you continue to be a mercenary and a migrant, you know that you are a homeless person and you remain a refugee in your own country.
So now that the boxes have been aligned, what usually happens? Why do wait?
While they are waiting, they are asking the delegates, I'm sure now, and the
delegates or agents?
The agents, rather. They're asking them because the delegates have nothing more to do here. They have finished their work. The delegates have nothing more to do here. They ought not to come near here. Only the 28 persons, 2 per aspirant, should be here now with security agents and the electoral officer. They are now working out the modalities. How shall we sort out? Is it state by state as we did the voting? Or is it box by box? Because is it by alphabetical order? Is it by candidate aspirants order? They have to agree on that. That's what they are discussing now. Once they agree on that modality, it must be jointly agreed by the electoral officer from the party and the agent, the 28 agents.
Shouldn't they have discussed that before?
No.
Before now?
No, you do that, you are shortchanged. You can't be manipulated. So you don't do it before time. You don't. Nobody will accept that.
In terms of how you sort the ballot?
Yes, you don't do that. If you tell me to sort that out, you can as well even say, I trust you. Go and sort it out and call us to come and do counting.
No. I think the question is, why do they have to wait up until now to decide how the modalities sorting will happen?
It is for transparency's sake.
Yeah, but if you decide that amongst the agents before now, what will be untransparent about it?
You will not know what would have happened between the time of voting and the time of this sorting. It is only after this that you now know that the situation is calm enough for us to go and do sorting. If the place is rowdy and you had agreed that you should go and do sorting in this place and that place is rowdy, you have already agreed. Your guidelines have already said so.
I heard them talk about each agent, 2 aspirants or something like that. Is that supposed to play out?
Each aspirant?
Okay, so they're distributing the agents. Maybe they're going to be doing it simultaneously.
For it to be faster, maybe they will say, since there are 2 agents, a section, one of the agents, each of the one agent, 14 should be on this side, sorting and counting. This 14 should be this way, sorting and counting. I'm sure that's what they're announcing. This is the kind of thing you wouldn't have anticipated before the voting. So there are no fast and hard rules. Like Jesus will tell you, law is not made for man, not man for the law. You can come in here now and you say we'll sort here and the rain starts. What do you do? A false majority has occurred.
You can't be shortchanged in our area.
Yes. So you now say, hold on, we can't count anymore. But you have already said by 10 o'clock voting, and by 10 o'clock it's raining, and this place is can no longer accommodate anybody there. What do? Stop until the rain stops. But you now say, no, because we say it is 10 o'clock. If it is 12, we can't count again. You want the election to stop? So you must have to make room for those exigencies. That is what you are seeing going out there.
Does the president have to be present when they are about to announce, or would they present?
Our rules do not say so. It is only conventional that his successor, the processes leading up to the production of his successor, should be diligently followed by him to show that he cares about who succeeds him. If the process that produces his successor is flawed, he will produce a flawed successor, and we are all going to pay the price for it. In fact, I was going to talk about that when on the issue of this number of delegates that are doing these primaries. I'm uncomfortable with it. Our National Assembly has led us into a near quagmire in which 2,324 persons are going to decide for 41 million APC members who their president should be. Just 2,300 are going to decide for over 200 million Nigerians who their president should be. 700 did that for PDP. And 2,000 plus are doing less than 4,000 people out of over 200 million Nigerians. With over 100 million of them of voting age, we are putting less than 3,000 people to decide who their president will be. This is dangerous for us. That is why consensus, this is why delegated elections and this superdelegate thing has to stop. When Buhari became president, it was what do you call it? An indirect primary. It had delegates, but more delegates than this.
For his second term or for the first?
For the first
Both.
term. No, for the first term.
First time it was
indirect.
Second one
was direct primaries.
Direct primaries. So it gave room for more participation. So that as he came out, if that number of persons came out to say you are going to be our president, it means they will come out and vote for you on election day. So it gives you a wider field and shows wider acceptability and wider participation, and therefore people take responsibility for their irresponsibility of bringing out a bad or good president. To give 2,000 people out of 41 million APC members to choose is dangerous. That was because the National Assembly targeted certain persons not to participate, and the process shot themselves in the foot. Well, and this is something for which the press must bring out.
The National Assembly wanted direct primaries, but you saw the battle, the uphill battle that they were up against, and the big debate that generated. In fact, when it was sent to the president asked that it be taken back, that they amend it to put to reflect indirect and consensus. He wanted options in it. So, I mean, will you really blame the National Assembly for that omission?
No. Look at the issue of excluding certain categories of persons on account of the nature of their job. Public servants, civil servants, appointees. Why do you punish a man for being appointed? Why can't he participate freely? You have given him 30 days, resign from your job and come and participate. In any case, you should be so liberal so that you don't lose your best brains. A bureaucrat whom you know is a technocrat comes out to contest election, you start punishing him and say you can't return to your job. You'll be losing that kind of person because institutional memory is very important.
Is this not a sort of failing on the part of your party? But in any case, because its majority in the House is your party, so they should have sorted it out.
This is the point I'm making. I'm not talking about party now. I'm talking about Nigeria. I'm talking about National Assembly.
Your party members are Nigerians as well.
Once you are elected, you cease to carry your party together until there is a contestation for elections. But once it comes about public
according
policy,
to the textbook, but we see that certain things don't play out.
Yeah, because it doesn't play out. That's why we are going the way we are going.
All right.
We must be able to get away from that.
Now, the sorting is going on, the formalities, announcing the agents, they're announcing who they represent, so we might as well just go ahead and listen in.
We're reaching you live, Sunrise Daily, coming to you live from the Eagle Square, and just what you are witnessing is the rules, how they're going to be invalidating or validating ballot papers. We've been told already, Chamberlain, that the names of the aspirants would have been written by each one of the delegates. And this is a little different from what we saw at the PDP. They had printed ballot papers, so all that the delegates had to do was thumbprint on it. But this one, you have to write correctly the name of the candidate or the aspirant whom you're voting for. Interesting process, Chamberlain.
Yeah, so what will you hear and see is that intermittently they will call on certain persons, and at the point in time there might be a lull, and so it will just keep going, you know, in a roller coaster manner. But you can see all of this party or officials. But Mr. Boom, all these election committee member, election committee co-chairman, election committee, this is done pro bono, I imagine, is it?
Are they paid?
All these officials.
The officials.
Are there allowances for them, or is this pro bono?
Yeah.
They're paid.
They don't.
Oh.
They don't. I will tell you something. You were saying something to the effect that the AP just typed out names. If that happened in this case, and 5 or 7 persons stepped down, their names will be on that ballot.
Indeed.
And for those people who are going to vote now,
yes,
they would have been having 5 or 7 people, and for people who are struggling to even read, you now inundate them with 23 names for them to start looking for which one is what. So it's easier for them to put it down and say, this is the person I want, write it for me.
So the number of aspirants also did you in with that method, because what the PDP said was that on their own ballot, if you thumbprint for somebody who has stepped down or for somebody who says is no longer in the race, that vote was counted as invalid.
Of course, if you are voting for nobody.
Exactly.
They don't need to even say so.
So they said that, they made that rule very clear.
So there is no need to even, that is what INEC is suffering. You have mushroom parties that put themselves on the ballot, and you have 91 names according to alphabetical order, and you start searching for PDP, you start searching for APC, and all that. Whereas if from the beginning we say, if you don't present a candidate for this election, your name shouldn't be on that ballot. Several of them can't even present candidates for State House of Assembly, yet their names are on the ballot. So you start searching and wasting the time and wasting money to print that kind of long paper and all that. So this is the innovation. It is to prevent that we are going to get this straight thing of write the name.
So do you plan contesting anything in the future for in your party?
I'm already on my way to contest the Federal House seat, which I believe upon appeal that our party will give to me. I am contesting for Federal. I'm supposed to run for the Senate, but I believe in equity as it was. But somehow I want to go to the National Assembly. I'll be going to the National Assembly. I'll be going to the National Assembly.
And you're going to re-own your delegates?
Not just me. If anybody tells you that nobody owns delegates, he is talking the American theory. He's not talking Nigerian politics. Nigerian politics is a distinct entity of its own. It has a spirit of its own.
Wait. So, what happens if one wants to contest but doesn't want to come to any of these parties because he feels, look, this political party, these big political parties won't give me, the structure or the platform or the kind of things I need, and I want to go it alone because I have support of the people. So I'll join one of these parties and go to give it a shot.
Fantastic. I had contemplated. In fact, my supporters had asked me not to waste money going to buy forms for 10, 20 million, but that money can get into the Senatorial district and win. Upon my name will win elections for my party. My name will win elections for my party in my area.
But what structure would you use if you don't use these other parties?
What is structure? Is it pieces of wood? It's humans. It's humans. And you gel with the people. You are on the ground with the people. You are in their weddings. You are in their burials. You are in their road construction works. You are on their scholarships. You are assisting and giving all kinds of assistance. And when it comes to elections, they are standing with you. I go to elections. I've contested elections and won without printing a poster. I have contested elections. In fact, the last time I was to contest, my community, the youth of my community, contributed 1.5 million. I wept when they sent that money to my account. They said I should send my account.
Just because you attended weddings, burials?
Not just because they feel that I cry with them and laugh with them.
Wow.
Whenever they are crying, I am crying with them. I live in a border community with the Cameroons, stretching over 4 or 5 local governments. I have carried out studies for the past 17 years on that. And I've faced the United Nations, I've faced the National Assembly on account of invasions of that. So when you are with the community is always with you at all times. And I say this without being immodest, that it is not difficult. It's impossible for you to win councillorship on my place. Even if I'm dead, I'm buried today. And you bring my coffin and place there and say, somebody says, I dreamt that this man told me in my dream that this is the next councillor, you win.
Your name will still be on the ballot?
Yes. I'm not saying my name will be, I say my name will win that election.
In the manner of speaking?
Yes.
Mr. Boom, thank you very much indeed for your perspective today. So, wow, there you go. At the moment, the sorting is going on. So, anytime, I'm not sure we can say any time from now to get the result because they have to go through the process.
2,332 delegates.
All of that.
Yes, so quite a number of votes to count there. It might take a while, but if they're fast, who knows? Maybe in the next 2 to 3 hours.
That should be sorted.
We should have an idea of who has emerged.
Yeah, so the process is that supposed to be what we call the beginning of the end?
Oh, the beginning of the beginning. The beginning of the end here, the beginning of another beginning.
Oh dear.
Yes, a long road ahead for both, for candidates who are going to be emerging and whose names will be submitted to INEC as the candidates of the different political parties. And as you just rightly pointed out, they do have a long haul ahead of them for campaigns. Okay, well, let's listen to that.
Okay.
Let's listen to that briefly.
Please
okay.
go and give it.
So that's the first ballot. It looks like they're going to be going one after the other for that sorting.
Let me give you one.
Going box by box, box by box.
The signature we're talking about, you see behind the ballot.
Okay.
Asiwaju. Bola Tinubu. Tinubu. Yeah. Bola Tinubu. Signature behind. Osibanjo. Please stand up and collect it, please. Bola Tinubu. Bola Tinubu.
By Aliyu Alju, who is a member of APC Rebirth Movement. You'll be hearing some perspectives, even as the sorting is going on. So
it is the climax of the event that we have been waiting to monitor all day, night, and now even to the early hours of this morning. And day is bright. Like you're happy with what you're hearing so far?
Yes, I'm happy with what has happened so far in the last 48 hours. You know, first thing first, to appreciate northern governors. They've done us proud. They've done us proud. We the northerners. You know, they've done us proud that we can be trusted. You know, the one thing the north, you know, the northerner is known for is trust. You know, and you know, over the years across the cities, you know, you see a restaurant runner in a market heap like a wheelbarrow of goods and give to some wheelbarrow pusher, Musa, and tell them to take to number 26, whatever street. When you get there, someone will give you 20 naira, not minding the worth of that. And usually it goes there because it's purely on trust. And for a second, I was afraid that our political elite in the north were going to, for their selfish reason, you know, make us look like we don't have that value anymore. But gladly, the northern governors has made me proud, and for me, they are the heroes of democracy 2022, because the internal coup, the coup against progressive democracy that they have risen up to stop, would have been disastrous to not just APC, but to democracy in Nigeria.
So this is the kind of APC rebirth movement you've been talking about?
This is the APC we want to have.
This is why you convened that rebirth movement?
Exactly.
Well, yesterday, the night of speeches was quite a night to behold. We saw consensus candidates, well, not consensus, candidates, aspirants stepping down for someone they thought should be the consensus. And I think only one person stepped down for Vice President Yemi Oshibajo, and it was a youth, the only youth candidate or the only youth aspirant. Were you proud of that moment?
I am not, I mean, up until that yesterday that I saw him on the stage, I had never seen him before. Until now, I can't remember his name.
Well, he contested elections before.
I'm not even aware.
And he was third.
That's how inconsequential he is.
By being third?
He's inconsequential in the scheme of things right now in APC. When we talk about APC, young people in APC, we don't know him, we don't remember him.
Do you have to know him for him to be consequential?
Yes, I mean, we're talking about, we're not like Bola Ahmed Tinubu told us 2013, when we paid him a visit, he said, you can't keep shouting it is time for the youth. Power is not served a la carte. Nobody's ever going to give you. You're going to have to work for it. That was what he told us. So we expect that of all the young, I'm not supposed to know everybody, but by the time I call 8-10 people within the party who we know, who we work together, that have been working for at least 70-80% of us should be aware of what he's done, his contribution to the party, so we can say, oh, as young people, he's one of us. So we can rally around to such person.
So those aspirants who contested alongside him, who were younger, does that mean that their work is not work enough?
I didn't get that.
You said that he told you that young people have to work for it. It won't drop on their laps.
Yes.
Now, there were other aspirants alongside him who are younger than him. So does it mean that the work they put in cannot be considered work enough?
Okay, now, this is what it is. And I'd like to make an example out of one particular young lad from Lagos, Ibrahim Babajide Obanikoro, who ran for local government at some point. Then, I mean, he didn't get it. He kept working. He's a House of Rep member today. So my point is
presidential aspirants
as at yesterday
on the platform of the APC, yeah.
No. This
for which the sorting is going on now. They are younger candidates.
What it Asiwaju Bola Ahmed rightly said yesterday, what the times demand right now, the leadership, the party, and the country demands right now. Only one person is befitting of that position.
So it's not about the work the young people have to put in. It's subjective then.
It is not. It is not.
That's what you're saying now.
You put in the work. You need to evaluate your position. You need to be able to assess the task ahead, evaluate your strengths. I didn't run for any position in this election because, like I said, I told a lot of young people, I said we can't keep putting our hard-earned money into party where we are not sure. We don't have to win, but the process has to be right. So we can, even when we don't win, we can go back and work and come again.
Is the process not right?
At the beginning, right now, what we've witnessed between yesterday and today has given us hope that APC will actually be a party where decision will be made by the people whose responsibility it is to decide who leads us. That's, in this case, the delegates, as far as indirect election is concerned.
So while you might say that, the youth aspirants or the young aspirants need to reach out to young people and, prove their worth and their mettle amongst their own peers, don't the youth to also have a responsibility to look out for those kinds of aspirants and see how they can offer their own support?
Oh yes, we do, and there are a lot of them we do that with in the APC, from House of Assembly member to Senate.
So how can you say you don't know this particular aspirant? I know him. I'm in the media. I know him.
Exactly.
And he paid a whopping 50 million naira. Because I think he gave youth aspirants some discount. So he did acknowledge that there was some discount for one part of the form.
Yeah, that's true.
So he didn't pay the entire 100 million.
That's true.
So if a young person can afford to drop that amount of money, shouldn't young people go to look to him and say, are there other things that even if he doesn't take the ticket?
What makes you a politician in the first place is to always evaluate your constituency and know which constituency is more important than the other. For a young man like that, his first constituency will be his fellow young people in the party. He doesn't have to give anybody a dime. Call young people together and tell them, this is where we are, this is where I think we need to be, this is what I'm bringing on board. And they look at themselves and say, okay, you have spoken well, you are acting right, we are going to rally around you and push you. But in a situation where you don't do that, you can't blame me for not coming with you.
Can we say that of all the aspirants who are on the platform, are you telling us that no younger candidate did it? No other person called the young people?
No, they did. Governor Yabelo did.
Okay.
Yes, Governor Yabelo did.
But you don't seem to be sticking with him.
For personal reasons, like I said earlier, Yabelo is a northerner. I personally have always maintained, I've said it on your show a number of times, I do not think that after 8 years, in the interest of unity and peace of this country, I do not think that after 8 years of President Muhammadu Buhari, we should bring in anybody from the 19th state of the north or even the FCT. It is only proper to let power move to the south, and that is why I'm very happy for the position of northern governors.
Interesting. Okay, so now we're at this point where sorting is going on. Shall I ask you first, before we come to sorting that is already underway, what parts of the speeches yesterday were you surprised by?
The signature.
I must confess it will be Fayemi withdrawing from the race for Asiwaju. That came as a shocker. Then the other shocker was Yemi Oshibanjo not stepping down for Asiwaju. That came as a shocker too.
What was the shocker? Why?
If Yemi Oshibanjo had been the first to speak, like Senator Boroface, came early enough to speak. But when one person, two persons, stepped down for him, he came back on stage and did the same thing. As at the time Professor Yemi Oshibanjo went on stage, the well-known politician from the southwest, grounded politician who are more grounded than he is politically in the southwest. Forget that he occupied number 2 position. Senator Ibikula Amosu, Governor Fayemi, Professor Boroface. Okay, these are like the 3 of all the aspirants from the southwest. The 3 aspirants from southwest that have proven they have tested the ballots, in both internal and external elections in their region, whether at state level or at senate level at some point. The moment they came down, for whatever reason, I would have asked, if I were Yemi Oshibanjo, I would have asked myself, if I am going against my benefactor, this person, whose support do I have?
Are those people the delegates?
Fayemi is the governor of Ekiti. Like he said rightly, about 54 delegates he informed yesterday to give their votes to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. What that means for Yemi Oshibanjo was, as at that point, he knew he was going to get 0 vote from Ekiti.
0 vote?
Yes.
How certain
it doesn't
are you
always
of
play out that way.
No, you see, this is what it is. We've been in this party for 7 years. The one thing we have always complained about is reward system. It took Atiku 4 years as vice president in PDP to have PDP eating out of his palm. If you remember, towards 2003. Yet Professor Yemi Oshibanjo has been in office for 7 years. There are both positions that have not been filled in. He's the number 2 citizen. He's the number 2 person in our government. He's the number 2 person in our party. How much has he stepped out for the party members? How much has it fought for the reward for the party members until where he wanted to be president and he went round to them? That matters.
All right. Okay, well, Sunrise Aliyu Audu, by the way, is the convener of APC Rebirth Movement. He's happy with the process. I think he says, this is kind of rebirth we've been talking about. That's why he's grinning from ear to ear, as you can see. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for having me.
So there you go. That is Sunrise Daily today, as a matter of fact. But this sorting will continue, so we will keep it locked here. So we expect you to do the same. We thank you all for watching. I'm Chamberlain also.
And I'm Malcolm Yusuf. Thank you.